Ahead tonight, a BEC blackout today. We've got more from the electricity company about when your power will be restored.
Also ahead, the request murder accused Prince Hebburn made while opening his defense today.
And the 90 reasons this lady has to throw a big party. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Kendino Knowles. As always, it's good to have you with us. Well, the power was out across New Providence today as the Bahamas Electricity Corporation experienced a system failure.
Now, the corporation experienced an underground fault that caused all units to trip offline. That included a temporary loss of BEC's generation, transmission, and distribution networks. A press release issued by the corporation late this afternoon indicated that consumers were left without power since the interruption began around 3:30 this afternoon.
Now, BEC says not to expect an extended period of power interruption. In fact, crews began working to restore supply immediately. The company says less than an hour after the initial outage, the first group of residential and commercial customers had their supplies reconnected. BEC officials confirmed that this began the incremental restoration process, which the entire island was brought back online before 6 o'clock this evening.
Now, BEC says the cause of the fault is unknown, but the corporation will begin an investigation to determine the cause. In the meantime, the corporation is monitoring its system here in New Providence to prevent a repeat of today's episode.
The government has finally received the long-awaited auditor's report on the National Insurance Board that was expected in late December. The audit came after allegations surfaced involving former NIB chairman and Member of Parliament for Marcos City Greg Moss and now suspended Director Algernon Cargo. It is reported that one recommendation made by the auditors is to update the National Insurance Act to change who the internal auditor would report to. The accounting firm Grant Thornton was engaged last November to conduct the audit after allegations were made by both Moss and Cargo. Now, the former chairman was reportedly interviewed by auditors during the course of the investigation, but Cargo declined questioning. Minister with responsibility for NIB Shane Gibson says because this matter is before the courts, he does not wish to comment. He stated that the investigation also included a project at the Sandals Rehabilitation Center along with bonuses and salary increases of executive management between the years 2008 and 2012. Now, according to Gibson, the audit report has to be presented to Cabinet and the Attorney General's office before any findings are made public.
Police say they're making inroads into those recent murders on the weekend. Now we're told that this is the second consecutive weekend that police have been busy dealing with multiple murders. Officer in charge of Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, said in an interview with ZNS News this morning that at this point the public's assistance is crucial to bringing these matters to a close. We reported on the weekend that 2 men were shot and killed on Price Street in Nassau Village. Police confirmed that one of the men allegedly drove up to his residence on Saturday when he was shot by an assailant, reportedly armed with a handgun. Another male who was close by was also shot. Tonight, Superintendent Roll is releasing some key information. He's appealing to the first murder victim's brother to come forward, as police believe he may hold some of the keys to solving the case.
Waiting for this brother to come forward, and so I believe he's hearing me, and he needs to know that we need to see him to help us to solve his brother's murder. His brother went to assist him a few days earlier and was shot, assisting him, and now his brother's dead, and we are waiting for him now to come and help and assist his brother and us solving and assist the police to solve his brother's murder.
Now, late this afternoon, police confirmed the victims' identities. 30-year-old Marvin Nottage and 26-year-old Leon Legure are the victims, both of Price Street, Nassau Village. Now, police believe robbery was the motive behind the murders in Nassau Village. Detectives tell us that eyewitnesses reported hearing gunshots, and 2 men were reportedly seen running with a gun and attempting to hide the weapon before the victims were found. That weapon was later recovered by police.
Able to take a male into custody for questioning reference to that. Yesterday evening, officers were out and took a male into custody for questioning, whom we believe have some information that are able to assist with the advancement of this investigation. Because of the condition of the body, though, there were no obvious gunshot injury. We couldn't see any because it was burned quite bad. And so hopefully autopsy will be able to help us to determine whether or not, in fact, he was shot. We are treating this as a murder. I don't believe he drove there and set himself on fire. And so the nexus there is suggesting to the contrary.
In other news, the Child Protection Council held a child abuse seminar and workshop at Transfiguration Baptist Church Hall this morning. Stakeholders in the fight against child abuse are now being trained on the Convention on the Rights of a Child. Social Services Minister Melanie Griffin says the increasing rate of child abuse makes a seminar like this most useful. In 2011, the number of cases including neglect, physical, sexual abuse, incest, emotional abuse, and abandonment totaled 636. In 2012, the number of cases totaled 633.
The children, no doubt, will benefit greatly, and by extension, our community, as we educate them about their rights. The Convention on the Rights of the Child was the first legally binding international instrument to incorporate the full range of human rights. The originators wanted to ensure that the world recognized that not only adults, but children had human rights as well.
National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage also addressed the workshop and noted its importance.
All of us need to go in a washing machine and come out at the other end with some new ideas and thoughts and and accept that we have a responsibility to these young people. Because if we don't, all of us know, I don't care how old we are, but 10 years ago, things were not the way they are now. So somewhere along the way, we're not doing the things we ought to have been doing, or we're failing at what we're doing, and we got to try some new things.
In our first look at weather, we have a frontal system moving through the northwest Bahamas, but outside of our studios, we have partly cloudy skies, temperature 82 degrees, relative humidity at 55%, winds out of the west at 12 knots, your barometric pressure 1,010.6 millibars, that's 29.84 inches, and it is falling. But stay tuned, temperatures around the Family Islands, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
An expert in psychiatry gave jurors some insight today into the mental state of Prince Hebburn at the time he allegedly killed Nellie Brown Cox.
The doctor is one of 4 witnesses who will testify in Hepburn's defense. Foreign Carey has been following this trial for us and has this report.
Prince Hebburn opening his defense today after the court determined that he does have a case to answer in the death of Nellie Brown Cox. During the proceedings, Hebburn chose to remain silent. However, he informed the court he would be calling 4 witnesses, among them an expert in psychiatry, Dr. Michael Neville. The doctor testified that he evaluated Heburn's mental state last August at Foxhill Prison. At that time, Dr. Neville said Hebburn told him he was very happy with Nellie Brown Cox and they were planning to get married once their divorces were finalized. However, Hebburn soon discovered that Brown Cox was reportedly having an affair, which the doctor said left the married father of 2 completely and utterly devastated. And from that point on, Hebburn developed a depressive illness and decided that the only solution was to kill himself and Brown Cox. Shortly afterwards, the doctor said Hebburn bought a cutlass even though he already had one. On the day the crime happened, the doctor said Hebburn informed him he was reading his mother's obituary shortly before Brown Cox came home. When he questioned her about the affair, Brown Cox made light of it, and as a result, Hebburn flew into a rage, got a cutlass, and chopped Brown Cox and then himself. The doctor indicated that he believed Hebburn's story because his account fitted what had actually happened on the day Brown Cox was murdered. When asked by Hebburn's attorney, Muriel DeSeal, if it was unusual or out of character for someone like Hebburn, who was known as a humble person, to behave as he did, the doctor said yes. Lead prosecutor Franklin Williams also wanted to know if Brown Cox's murder was premeditated, as Hebburn bought a cutlass and then attempted to commit suicide to get out of it. But the doctor strongly disagreed, noting that Hebburn is ill and his actions were irrational. The trial continues Tuesday morning. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
The coroner's inquest into the death of 20-year-old Aaron Roll resumed today. Roll reportedly died at Southern Police Station on February 9th after he was reportedly picked up in good health from his Ross Corner home on February 6th. A pathologist report indicated that he died from a ruptured intestine and internal bleeding caused by blunt force trauma to the torso. Taking the witness stand this afternoon was officer in charge of the Southern Police Station, Sergeant Robert McKenzie, who reported for duty on February 8th for the midnight shift. He told the court that Aaron Roll was one of 5 suspects in custody. He testified that no suspects in custody made any complaints, and when he took over, he personally checked on all of the suspects. Around 7:05 on the morning of February 9th, he said a Haitian suspect who shared a cell with Aaron Roll alerted him that something was wrong. The suspect told him Roll appeared motionless. He said he found Roll lying down in the cell, so he contacted the control room where he was instructed by an emergency dispatch operator how to perform CPR. He said when he pressed on Roll's chest, he gasped for air twice. Sergeant McKenzie further testified that this would have been the first time in a very long time that he'd performed CPR. He said during the administration of CPR on Roll, his body would have been repositioned. The officer said he had no conversation with Roll. Now, under cross-examination, he said he was not aware that the deceased had been beaten. Roll said today that it was his first day back to work since February 8th. Now, Police Constable 3628 Deandra McClure also took the stand, and in her evidence, she told the court that she worked the midnight shift until 8 a.m. on February 9th. Shortly before 7 a.m., she said Roll called out to her asking for water. He also asked to make a phone call. She provided the water according to evidence, but told the suspect to wait a while before the phone call. About 8 minutes later, she said she was advised by another suspect that Roll did not appear to be alive. Testimony continues.
A Kemp Road area family is concerned about their missing daughter tonight. Their concern is coupled, or compounded that is, due to the fact that the teen is reportedly a witness in a rape case. Now, they say Cheyenne Chantal had disappeared. Cheyenne Chantal Newbold disappeared the evening before she was to appear in court. Now, she was last seen on Commerce Alley off Kemp Road on March 12th. The family says that it was told that Cheyenne was seen with 2 men in a car before she went missing. Now, anyone with any information is asked to contact the police.
Well, still to come tonight, the word that spelled victory for the latest spelling bee champ.
Getting on track for Carifta ahead, the team effort officials are teaming up to complete ahead of the games.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Lux Men's Warehouse.